What's up, everybody? Ben Razzie here for Odd Chopper, talking about one of the best topics to talk about, the National Football League 2023 NFL season's about to get underway. But before then, we do have a little time to talk about how do we get prepared? How do we maximize our opportunity to make some money? And that's what let's talk about that. Let's talk about some tips. Let's talk about some tricks. Let's talk about some things to avoid when betting NFL. I've been betting it for a lot of years. It's a very difficult sport to bet. But if you learn a couple simple things, you will be better off and you have a much better chance to make some profit this year and certainly enjoy your NFL season. So that's what we're here to do today at Odd Chopper. Of course, that's not what all we're doing. Check out everything we've got going on this channel. You want to like and support, appreciate it. It's going to be a great year. But let's talk some NFL tips and tricks for 2023 betting. First one, what a novel concept. Understand what you're betting, please. That is something I know it would seem obvious, but not everyone takes advantage of this concept of understanding the bet types out there. If you're starting out with betting in general or just NFL betting, keep it simple, please. I really think that's the move. You could bet some spreads or a prop where it's really just a line. You have two sides of it. You're evaluating, does the line and the juice have value? You know, a very simple concept. It doesn't mean it's simple to beat, but we know what we're doing. Now, if you get into parlays and teasers, that's really what I want to highlight. That's a whole different concept. What a teaser is, if you don't know, it's the opportunity to move the spread, different amounts of points, usually 6 is a common one with a couple different games, and you get set odds for that. It seems simple. It's like, oh my, I can move it like basically a touchdown. How are these teams ever going to lose? Trust me, you're break even on what you need. It's like in the mid 70s. It's very, very complex to evaluate this stuff. If you're just getting started, there are a million ways that this will drain your bankroll. If you're teasing totals, for example, you have absolutely no chance. And these are the little things that make a difference. So I'm not going to drill down into all of them. I'm just going to say this very simply. Understand the types of bets before you make them. If you want to bet teasers, research them, dig into the break evens, learn the key numbers, things like that. If you want to bet parlays, make sure you're trying to take, of course, plus EV spots and parlay them together. If you combine bad bets, it's just going to make it worse. And if you're betting totals, things like that, key numbers, all very, very important. So an obvious one to start, but I have to mention it, just understand the different types of bets that we have in the NFL. Now, let's move to the second tip. Another, in theory, obvious thing, but something that I don't do a great job of, and I need to be better about this. Take the wins. Take the easy opportunities. What do I mean by that? Promos, bonuses, free bets. No matter how big or small your bankroll is, these things add up over the course of the season. It could be the difference between coming out ahead or behind in the entire year. If you're vigilant and you're on top of it with different books, you're going to get a ton of opportunities. Why? Because let's be honest here. The sites are not stupid. They want your business. What's the best way to get to people's business? Wave a free bet around. Rate, a promo. Oh, this guy has to go over 1 passing yard today. You know all those are going to win, and that's how they get you in the door. Rack them up. Take advantage of them, especially, again, if you are vigilant on multiple books, you're going to have a ton of offers early in the season for free bets, boosts, and things like that. It makes a difference. Track your results and you will see if you don't believe me. It is a huge bankroll boost. It's tough enough to beat these sports. Let's give ourselves the best opportunity. And again, head over to Odd Chopper. We have a promos page so you don't miss any of the deals. We have tools to maximize your free bets. Say you want to say, okay, I don't want to risk it. I just want to lock in the profit. We have free bet converters here, all of that type of stuff, because this is a key. If you, and I'm speaking, I am someone that did not do a great job of this. I missed out on a lot of the promos when New York came online, and I regret it. I really do. So this is something I can, if your state just came on or you haven't signed up to some of these books, NFL season, there's going to be great offers in these arenas, and that is an absolute key to building up the bankroll. Third, as we move on, because we've talked about bet types, we've talked about promos and bonuses. Third is a little more targeted, but this is something that people get into trouble with all the time. Do not buy points. Do not attack alt lines frequently. There's always exceptions. There's always exceptions where this could be a spot. But in general, Be super careful about buying points and betting alternate spreads. We'll go to an example. Say the Chiefs, 10.5-point favorites. Okay, that's great at minus 110. And then you're looking and you say, oh, wow, I can bet the Chiefs at only minus 6.5. This is amazing. That means if they win by 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, I'm going to win instead of lose. And you don't think about that you're now laying minus 300 or something obscene. And yes, you are more likely to win that bet, but it's not worth the break even. The majority of the time, when you are betting alts, they really rake them very, very, very aggressively, and you have to be careful. Now, can you find some that are advantageous? Absolutely. Absolutely. But just really make sure you've done your due diligence. You've got to shop them. You've got to try to find things that will help you see what is the true odds before you bet them. Buying points is the same way. Who doesn't want to have more cushion? Oh, this team is a 6-point favorite. I can make them a 4.5-point favorite. If it lands on 5 now, I win. If it lands on 6, again, no problem. Yeah, it sounds great in theory. You're paying so much for each point, even each half a point at times. It is not worth it. Now, if you want to talk about key numbers, around 3, around 7, things like that, there are scenarios, particularly if it's 10 cents. Those are more nuanced positions. We're talking very general here. Don't fall into the trap of trying to make it easier to win when you're paying the tax when you lose. Again, it's all about that line. If you're moving something from minus 110 to minus 150 and you're barely making an impact on your break even, it's going to end poorly over the course of the season. So just very, very careful with those. Don't fall into the trap of alt lines and buying points. Fourth tip, another one, I guess I'm rotating things that are just very important, and then things, this is a reflection, a confession session. I, like everyone, like I said, I love to bet sports. I also love to gamble, and those things can get a little dangerous at times. Don't chase. That's a great lesson for all of us. What I mean by that, of course, do not let what's happened impact your next bet. Easier said than done, but in the NFL, it's incredibly important because there are island games. And what I mean by that, you sit down at the bar with your buddies, there's like 20 games it feels like on, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, boom. Oh man, I just got demolished. Well, what do we have in an hour? Sunday night football, 1 game. Gotta get it back. That goes poorly. What do you have on Monday? Monday night football. I'm in a huge hole this week. I've got to get it back. No. Resist the temptation. I'm begging you. It is a terrible idea to chase. I'd really consider, if you're getting started, to flat your units. If you want to use something and stay very diligent to a betting criteria, a bankroll tracker, again, it's available on OddsShopper and elsewhere. Just make sure you use one and stick to it. But you do not want, and this is why tracking is so important. If you look and you say, man, every week my biggest bet is the Monday night football game, that's probably dictated by the game being on an island rather than it being the best spot. Try to ask yourself, if the game was sandwiched with 12 other games at the 1 p.m. Eastern window, would you have bet it? Would you have bet it big? And if the answer to that is honestly no, you found a leak that you can easily plug. It sucks, but you're going to have losing stretches no matter how good or bad you are at betting. You just have to kind of try to minimize them as much as possible when things are going poorly. And chasing will dig the hole deeper, even if you get out of it. It's not like you can't win that game. But I'm telling you, if you are really, really going aggressive with unit allocation for no reason other than you're trying to make up for other bets, it's a recipe for disaster. So be careful of the primetime games. Be careful of your units. Use a criteria. Again, OddsShopper, we have something where you plug right in your bankroll. It'll tell you how much to bet on the various games. Really, really useful. All part of it. All the links are below. By the way, if you're ever interested in being part of this community. But regardless, do not chase those losses, and don't even chase the wins. Just keep it independent. None of the bets should influence the other bets. We've talked about bet types. We've talked about promos and bonuses. We've talked about alt lines and buying points, and now we've talked about not chasing. I got one more tip for you before we bounce on out of here. Again, appreciate everyone. If you have any questions, you find me on Twitter at JazzRazDFS, and of course on this very channel talking all things NFL. Fifth one is actually a pretty interesting concept that I've talked about more in college football for myself. I can only speak from personal experience. Consider, doesn't mean you have to do this, but you should consider becoming a specialist. And what do I mean by that? The NFL markets are massive. You can find anything, spreads, totals, first TD, tight end receptions, quarterback rushing yards. Will there be defensive touchdowns? What it doesn't matter what you want, you can find it. And it's not to say you can only live in one lane. That's not true. But I really believe it is better to have a targeted approach than just trying to surf hundreds and hundreds of bets on your own. You'll be there forever. You're going to end up missing stuff. You're going to end up not being accustomed to what the lines look like, and you're just not going to have all the info. Unless you're modeling or doing something like that, it's very, very difficult to feed everything in a reasonable amount of time. So what does a specialist mean? It means get accustomed to one type of bet. Maybe it's in the prop world. Props are a great starting point, a great jumping off point for anyone getting started, especially if limits aren't an issue. Props are softer, they're less efficient, and you can find ones that are pretty weak if you really know where to look. And that's something, again, with a specialist. Say you say, okay, I'm just going to focus on receptions. You'll get a good idea and a good understanding. Maybe that's where you really have a good insight onto some of these teams. I'm looking at target share. I'm looking at some of these things, and I am able to identify, okay, some of these guys, whether it's personnel, injuries, things the books are not taking something into account. I think this line is soft. And then you track and see if it's actually true over time. But if you're trying to do that in too many forums, it's not going to be realistic. And to tie it back to what I said, like for college football, I'm talking about over 100 teams. What I try to do, and it's not everyone has to do this, I really pick a couple conferences and say, I'm going to become an expert at these 2 or 3 conferences. I'm not going to try to know everything about every team. I'm just going to try to know as much as possible about these 24 teams. That's a little more manageable. And then when I see them and see them and see them and get the info, I'm better for it rather than chasing all sorts of things. I think that's really, really important. So for the NFL, find a lane and stick to it. It doesn't mean you can't splash in another avenue. Doesn't mean you can't ever bet Monday Night Football, but know kind of where that money is made and stick to it. There you have it, friends. Again, it's going to be a great NFL season no matter what, but I'm hopeful that these type of tips and tricks and anything else we got going on can help make an impact in the bottom line, which is making some money and, of course, enjoying ourselves. That's what we're all about here. It's not just entertainment. It's not just for profit. It's both. It's fun when you win, and that's what we're about. So we're going to try to do here. Again, any questions at JazzRazDFS, but good luck. Enjoy the NFL season. Make sure to come back all year at Odd Chopper. We're going to be having a good old time, hopefully, in the NFL in 2023. Until next time, everyone, good luck, enjoy. Talk to you guys soon.